What's up, YouTube? It's me, Jefferson Chow.
And Brittany Foote.
We're back at it again at Restaurant Critic. This week we went to Bollywood Theater. It's in Division. It's a Indian restaurant, and I'm not talking about the Indians with the feathers and riding horses, hunting. I'm talking about Indian from India. And how'd you think about that place, Brittany?
Well, when we walked in there were decorations all over the walls with like Indian artifacts and stuff like that, and they had like a giant projector screen, and they were playing Bollywood movies, and it was very like Indian themed, so to speak. But when we looked at the people that worked there, they were all white, and it was kind of weird because the menus, the titles for like the food were all Indian words. Like you probably couldn't pronounce them right if you were like unfamiliar with it. And but they knew, the waitresses and the waiters and stuff, they knew enough about the restaurant, enough about the food and the cuisine to even correct you if you were pronouncing stuff wrong, because Jeff and I could not pronounce half the stuff on the menu.
Yeah, I felt like I was a foreigner. I mean, I am a foreigner, but being in that restaurant made me feel like a foreigner because I couldn't even say the words. I started pointing like how other foreigners do when you can't, like you first came to America, you don't know what you're saying. You're like,
that.
Yeah, that's what we were doing in the restaurant. So it was a culture that we were not used to. But Brittany is right. One of the things that came up in this restaurant was that there were Western people running a cultural restaurant. And I feel like this happens at church sometimes, that every church we go to is ran in the Western society, and we tend to overrun the culture into our way and our views of what we need, how we see God and how we see who Jesus is. I've been to a lot of churches, so I'm kind of like a window shopper of churches, I guess. I've been to a Russian church, I've been to a Chinese church, Korean church, Albanian church, Greek Orthodox, yes. I've been through a lot of these churches where if you ever go to them, you'll see that they always project that Jesus is white. They always say all the leaders are all American leaders, and under the American leaders are the cultural leaders, because they can't speak their language, so they'll tell them, hey, we need you to run this and this, we need you to do this and this. Culture does overtake the church, but because it gets westernized, the culture kind of disappears, and it's just the outside look of the culture that goes into the church, and not the true culture that goes into the church. Currently I'm at a Korean church. It's my wife's church, and it is, all leaders are Korean. There is no westernized anything about it. The only thing that's westernized is the second generation that is in the church who have been born here, and now all they speak is English and they can't speak the other language. But the culture of Korean culture is there, and it seems not to be like that everywhere else. And that's what me and Brittany were talking about when we were in this restaurant, that we both agreed on, was that this restaurant is kind of like how church is right now, how it gets westernized and it gets taken away from where the true culture of church should be. By if you went to China, you went to Korea, or any other place where they worship the Lord, they're gonna do it in their way, in their culture. But when they come to America, it just becomes something totally different that we probably don't understand, or it's taken into a different aspect.
And it felt like Bollywood was, I mean, it's a great restaurant, but it felt like they were trying to represent a culture, but they had no one from that actual culture that it represented. We expected to at least see some Indian people there, whether it's just eating or cooking the food or like serving, but we literally saw no one. We saw like a bunch of like touristy type people who weren't from the area coming and stuff. And actually when we were leaving, we did see a few Indian people coming to like eat and enjoy the food and stuff. So I mean, that was cool, but you'd expect some people to be there cooking or like serving or something, just to make that experience even more authentic. And hey, there could have been people cooking that were in it. We don't know because we didn't see the back of the kitchen. But either way, why are they not, you know, more up front where we can see them, where we can see that it may look like it looks like an Indian themed restaurant and there are actually Indian people there to make our experience more like real. But I mean, it fit the part. The restaurant looked great, but we just didn't see enough people representing it. And that's the same thing that happens at church, where a church can be great. The music is great, the building is great, the people are nice, but there's just not enough people who aren't a part of the dominant culture representing their cultures there. And that's what's really sad about some big and great churches, the fact that it's not really representative of the kingdom of God because everyone looks the same, and the kingdom of God, everyone doesn't look the same there. So how is it truly representing the kingdom if there's no real diversity there? And that's how kind of how we felt about Bollywood.
And just one more thing I'd like to talk about is the location. Bollywood is an Indian restaurant, but it happens to be in Division. And Division is, if you know Division, it's almost like Hawthorne. It's almost like a hipster place. It's ran with local restaurants, local businesses. It's in the residential area. So it's all local business and residential area. And churches sometimes like that too. You know, if you go to a Korean church, they're more in Beaverton or in Happy Valley because those are where Korean people are. Like the Chinese church on Foster. Now all the Chinese people are all on Powell right now, 82nd and Powell. But yet the Chinese church is on Foster. And there are other Chinese churches. They're in Lake Oswego. They're all in places where Western leaders are at. They're not where Asian people are at. So what you're trying to bring in are not them. You're bringing in diversity, which is great. But then it doesn't help the people who are in need, who come from different areas, or come from China, or come from whatever country, to where they don't speak English. And maybe church is the first thing they go to for community to try to find out who they are and how to get around and how to do things, but ends up everybody speaking English. You know, so that's one thing I want to bring up with that too.
But all in all, Bollywood was a great restaurant. You just would have liked to have seen a little bit more representation from that actual community. The same thing in church, to see more representation of other communities as opposed to whatever the dominant culture may be, white, black, whatever culture is dominant. We would like to see more representation of other cultures there to show more of the kingdom of God, right?
Yeah. And I hope one day Oregon does become a multicultural church. I know church is segregated right now, but that is my view, and I know that's Brittany's view. We always talk about that, why there isn't a multicultural church. So if a restaurant can bring multicultural people, why can't a church do that too? So little something for you guys to think about there. Until next week, guys. Peace.
Peace.